Victor was drinking tea in the kitchen, half listening to his wife's voice. Paula was on the phone, and from fragments of her speech, he could tell it was a call from Natalie, her friend. "Nat, you can't tolerate this anymore. Next time he'll just kill you, do you understand?" Paula exclaimed in anger. Victor sighed. This conversation would take a while. He glanced at the open window and considered sneaking a smoke while Paula was busy. But no, she'd smell it instantly and come running. Victor put on his slippers and shuffled out to the balcony. When he returned, he was surprised by the look on his wife's face. Paula was pale, her hands trembling. "Can you believe what a bastard Sam is?" She shook her head. "He crawled home at dawn, slept it off, then started barking orders again." "Yeah, poor Nat really got the short end of the stick with that guy." Victor nodded. "What did he do this time?" Hungover and demanding, first soup, then stew, hot, then cold, Natalie finally stomped her foot and told him she wasn't his servant. Finally, Victor nodded. He'd been an unwilling listener to Natalie's stories for years. After every drunken episode her husband pulled, she'd call Paula, and Paula would urge her to leave the abuser. "But he hit her again," Paula burst out, her eyes flashing. She herself would never tolerate such treatment. She'd have documented the bruises, gone to the police, filed for divorce. But Natalie was a different kind of woman. Victor shook his head. He couldn't comprehend hitting a woman. He would never lay a hand on Paula, even though they sometimes had heated arguments. He genuinely sympathized with Natalie and feared for her life. But what happened next, he wasn't ready for at all. Sam's next drinking binge ended in another fight. Natalie, as usual, called Paula, but this time Paula was more resolute. "I'm coming to get you," she exclaimed. "Pack your things. You're moving in with us." Victor nearly dropped his phone. He was in the middle of an intense puzzle game level, completely focused. Almost nothing could distract him except those words from his wife, which exploded in his brain. "Paula, what the hell?" he protested, tugging at her shirt. She was still on the phone and waved him off. "What's going on here?" While she packed, Paula explained that things were worse than ever. "That idiot's lost it. He chased her around with a knife, Victor. Can you believe that?" "Look, I get it. But doesn't she have parents? Siblings? Anyone else?" he asked, frustrated. "Her brother lives far away," Paula replied. "She has a bad relationship with her mother, who's never even seen her grandson. Her father's gone." Victor sighed. He understood Paula's desire to help, but something just didn't sit right. "So Natalie and Luke will be bouncing from couch to couch while that drunk lives it up in their apartment," he smirked. "For now, yeah," Paula said. "Don't make a big deal out of this. She'll stay with us for a while. See a lawyer, figure out how to get her share of the apartment. At least she and her son will be safe here." Victor nodded. "Okay, if it's temporary, they could manage." And Luke was 5, the same age as their son Max. The boys would have fun together. Paula came home with Natalie and her boy. The kids ran off to the bedroom. Luke was still rattled from what he'd been through, but quickly got distracted in this new environment. Victor welcomed Natalie warmly, telling her to feel at home. He even said if Sam dared show up, he'd break his horns off. Natalie was still shaken, but gradually started coming back to life. Their support helped. She even smiled by evening. She swore she'd never go back to Sam and would now focus on building a new life. "I could rent a place for now," she said. Maybe even get a mortgage on a room in a dorm-style building or shared flat. That's a start. But you have to sort out the marital property, Paula said. You can't let Sam keep what you built together. How did you guys even afford that apartment? Victor asked. Sam's not exactly a provider. He had a car his dad gave him, Natalie nodded, and I inherited a tiny apartment from my grandma in a remote town. We sold both, got just enough for a decent down payment. Then we both worked hard for 3 years, paying the mortgage ahead of schedule until I got pregnant. And after that, Sam paid the rest? Victor asked. Yeah, he wasn't drinking then. He was actually motivated to pay it off quickly. But once we cleared the loan, he lost it. Started acting like the apartment was all his because he paid for it. Treated me like a squatter. You're a rightful owner, Paula said angrily. And your son, too. He has rights to housing as a minor. I know, Natalie nodded, but I couldn't think straight. The constant fear. I was just trying to survive, protect my child. Paula hugged her friend with tears in her eyes. Poor Natalie, she'd been through hell. But now they'd help her rebuild. The apartment had 2 bedrooms. Paula and Victor kept their own room. Max now shared his with Luke. Natalie had to sleep in the kitchen. I feel so guilty taking up your space, she said again and again. Don't be silly. You're my best friend, Paula would reply. But then something shifted. One morning, Paula walked in to see Natalie sleeping in a very short nightgown. It wasn't seductive, more like cozy, but it looked flattering. Paula saw Victor glance at her. He quickly looked away and mumbled something about forgetting something in the room. We were going to have coffee before work, Paula said. I thought you were up already. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. I start at 10 today, Natalie replied sheepishly. I'll get dressed and clean up the bed, then we can have coffee together. Paula agreed, but inside she began to feel uncomfortable. The first week had gone smoothly. Natalie was healing. Her face looked brighter. She smiled more. But she hadn't made any moves to leave. She wasn't contributing to groceries. She and her son ate with them. Paula cooked every night now. She couldn't afford to cook once every few days anymore. Ordering takeout, which they used to do occasionally, became a financial burden. Their family couldn't keep up. Talk to her, Victor said, frustrated. At least ask her to help with food. I see my salary disappearing twice as fast. I can't, Paula admitted. I just want her to leave as soon as she can. She's saving money out of desperation. You sure she's saving to move out? Victor raised an eyebrow. Even Paula had begun to wonder. Natalie didn't offer to chip in. She didn't buy clothes for her son, just accepted Max's hand-me-downs. Paula bought 2 toys instead of 1, so Luke wouldn't feel left out. Natalie thanked her, but never offered to repay her kindness. So, any news on the apartment situation? Paula asked. No, Natalie shrugged. We're not even divorced yet. Are you planning to find your own place? Paula asked carefully. It's complicated, Natalie sighed. Have you seen the prices for a 2-bedroom in the city center? Yes, Paula nodded. Too expensive. That's why you should look in the suburbs for a 1-bedroom. I don't want my son living like that, Natalie replied, but I understand we've overstayed our welcome. If you want, I can move back in with Sam today. No, don't even say that, Paula panicked. She couldn't let her return to that maniac. Still, she gently hinted that Natalie needed to start looking. I'll see a lawyer tomorrow, Natalie promised. Next week, I'll get my paycheck and find a place for me and Luke. That Tuesday, Paula would never forget. The day started badly. Victor was fuming because the bathroom was always occupied by the guests, and he was annoyed with Luke, who was bossing Max around. That same day, Paula decided she'd had enough. She would give her friend 3 days to leave. 6 months was too long, even for the most generous host. Then came the phone call. Her mother's neighbor. Paula's mom had been rushed to the hospital with dangerously high blood pressure. Paula bought a train ticket that evening. "Natalie, I really hope you understand," she said before leaving. 3 days. You need to be out by the weekend." "How long will you be gone?" Natalie asked, without making any promises. "I don't know," Paula sighed, "but I made myself clear. 3 days." She didn't notice the strange look on her friend's face. Her mind was elsewhere, worried about her mother. 2 weeks passed, her mom stabilized, doctors prescribed treatment. Paula decided to return home. "You shouldn't leave your husband alone for so long," her mother said. "My Victor can be trusted," Paula smiled. "He'll take good care of Max." "I'm joking, kind of," her mom winked, "but every joke has—" That evening, Paula boarded a train home. She didn't tell Victor. She wanted to surprise him. Her spirits were high. But a thought chilled her. What if Natalie never left? Then she shook it off. If she stayed even a day past the deadline, Victor would have called to complain. But when Paula arrived, no one answered the door. Strange. Victor and Max should have been home. Maybe they were at his mother's. She started unlocking the door, then froze. She heard voices inside, a man, her husband, and soft, feminine moans. Within seconds, Paula burst into the bedroom and froze. It was like a bad movie, too obvious to be anything else. "Paula, why didn't you tell me you were coming?" Victor gasped, flushing. "Sorry," Paula whispered. "Didn't realize I wasn't expected." "Of course I was waiting for you." He started to stand, but a woman's hand pulled him back. "Where are you going, darling? At least put on your boxers," cooed Natalie. "Natalie," Paula whispered, "how could you?"
Her friend looked down in shame. She mumbled that she felt guilty, but really Paula was the one to blame for leaving her husband alone. "What are you even saying, you shameless?" Paula fumed. "I saved you, took you into my home. And I'm grateful," Natalie said, "but it just happened. Can you step out for a minute? Let us get dressed." Paula turned and walked away. She couldn't argue. She couldn't scream. What was she supposed to do? Demand they dress in front of her? Victor came to the kitchen. Paula was sitting there, pale and frozen. "I took the boys to my mom's," he said. "Bring my son back, now," she replied coldly. "Paula, please, let's not make rash decisions," he pleaded. "I don't know how this even happened." "I'll make the fastest decision of my life," she said. "You bring Max back. Then you leave. Forever. I'll file for divorce and child support myself." Victor begged, argued, but she wouldn't listen. She wouldn't look at him. While Natalie packed, Victor went to fetch the boys. Natalie cried, tried to explain, but it was all gibberish. "This is your fault," she snapped, offended by Paula's silence. "You're absolutely right," Paula nodded. "It was a lesson, one I paid dearly for, but neither you nor my husband will ever set foot in my home again." "That's where we differ," Natalie said bitterly. "I could never say that to my husband. That's why I had to rely on others. We're different in many ways." Paula smiled sadly. "I'm just a fool. You're a traitor. But you're right about one thing. I can kick my husband out. The apartment is mine." That night, Paula cried into her pillow, lying face down on the bed. She changed the sheets, but couldn't rid the room of betrayal's scent. The next morning she was strong, ready to move forward. Done with the traitors. Victor and Natalie rented an apartment together. They had nowhere else to go. But it didn't last. They fought constantly. Natalie was jealous of Paula. Victor was annoyed by her kid. Victor tried several times to return to Paula, but she wouldn't even consider it, though she allowed him to see Max. Eventually the lovers split up. Natalie went back to Sam, who still drank and still hit her. Victor moved in with his mother.